So welcome to everyone to this WindAI dataset competition launch event. So today we'll be going through the introduction, motivation and challenge, practicalities, computational resources, publishing, further events, and open questions where we will turn off the recording. My name is Signe Rigmor Sørensen. I'm Research Manager for Analytics and AI at SINTEF, and I've been coordinating the preparations for this data challenge. Climate changes requires us to shift to renewable energy, but more renewable energy poses some challenges. So both production and consumptions fluctuate with weather, and that's a bit hard for the system operator to plan their efforts. So the Norwegian transmission system operator Statnett, they asked if we could help. And that's in this case, the Norwegian Center on Research-Based Innovation for AI. So we had some other ongoing activities. So we thought that this would be perfect for another project where we could help, namely a project called EduWind, where we train students to work with renewable energy. And we wanted to hold a data challenge where we could engage those students with a real world problem. However, the real champions of data challenges in Norway, that's NOVA, the Norwegian Research Consortium on AI. And luckily, they wanted to help us. Data challenges, they also need computational resources. But for that, we're very lucky that we have the Norwegian AI Cloud. And then we shouldn't forget the Digital Innovation Hub Nemonor, which are showcasing real life and supporting SMBs who wants to work with AI. And then we actually have one more partner on the list, which is the Nordic Machine Intelligence Journal, and we'll get back to them later. So we're very happy that all these partners have joined our collaborative effort for this data challenge. And today, those partners, they're represented by Christian Alfen, who's a data scientist at Statnett, and he's owner of the problem, and he will tell you about it in a moment. Then we have Christian Visoka from NORA. He's holding everything together, and he will be the one who will be receiving and potentially answering all of your questions. Then we have Sabri Rasik from the Norwegian AI Cloud, who will talk about providing computational resources. And then we have Geir Helnes, who will represent the Nordic Machine Intelligence Journal. We'll get back to all of them later. Now I'm going to hand over to Christian.
Yeah. So I will first talk about the motivation for this challenge and why we need the good wind power forecasts. So two of the main tasks of a transmission system operator like Statnett is to avoid overloads in the grid and to keep balance between consumption and production, keeping the frequency at 50 Hertz. So to avoid overloads, it's important that we give the right capacities to the market. And if there's no wind power for the next day, we can give all the capacity to the market. But if there's a lot of wind, we need to kind of save off some of the capacity to deal with that wind. So it's very important that we can say how much power will be produced by the wind parks 2 days ahead. And also with respect to balancing, all the production plans are made the day before. And if we miss on the wind power forecast, we can get an imbalance between consumption and production, which will either increase or decrease the frequency. And this would need to be dealt with in production, no, in operation, and it costs a lot of money to do this balancing in operation. So in this challenge, we will predict the total wind power for each of these bidding zones. So a bidding zone is an area with the same spot price. So we can see that in NO1, we have a few wind parks that we can see as yellow dots in the map. quite closely spaced, while in NO4 we have wind parks spread out more. So in this challenge, we will create a model that can forecast the total production of the wind parks within that bid zone. So if we go to the next, just a short slide on the physics of wind turbines. So they usually have a power curve, as we can see here on the left, where you have zero production until you get to a certain wind speed, a cut in. And from there on, there's a rapid increase in wind power following the wind speed in the power of 3 until you get to the rated capacity of the turbine, and it flattens out, and then you get steady production until the wind speed becomes too high and the turbines need to protect themselves and they cut off. So if you go back again, you can see that the power is mainly affected by the wind speed, but you also have a density term here as rho in the formula, and that's the density of the air. So it's also dependent on temperature of the air, the pressure, the humidity, but of course not as much as the wind speed. Next slide. Here I've just shown for a single wind park how the data looks. We will work on the total bid zone, but these effects are maybe more apparent on a single wind park. And here you can see the power in red and the wind speed in blue. And for this first period, you have full production, but the wind speed is not that high. And in the middle here, you see that there's higher wind speed, but you still don't get more power. So this is this rated capacity plateau that we saw on the power curve. And if we go to the next slide, if I plot measured power versus wind speed, you can see that we get actually this theoretical power curve as we looked at earlier, where there's a rapid increase and a plateau and then a cutoff later on. Right. So the data sets that you will be provided with contains first the total power production per bidding zone. So this is also the target of the competition, but it can also be used as input up till the forecast time. So if we get the forecast at 9 or at UTC, so it's 11 local time, then you can use the power production up till that time. But we don't know it in 2 days ahead. So that's what we're going to predict. The next data file we have is the weather forecast. And the weather forecast is not on bidding zone, but it's on individual wind parks. So all these yellow dots that we saw earlier, they have their own weather forecast. And this is a bit of a special data set because it also contains an ensemble forecast. So it's not just one value per time, it's 15 weather forecasts. And that is what we see on the right here. Here we have wind speed for a certain issued forecast. And the different ensembles in the weather forecast predicts slightly different wind speed. And you can also see that the longer you go from the forecast time, the more uncertain the spread it gets higher, and that indicates that the weather forecast is more uncertain in this area. And also the reason why I have these two red lines is that this is the period that we're going to create the forecast for. So if we're at the here at the 22nd of March midday, we will create a forecast of the wind power for the 24th of March. So that period, that's the challenge, 24 hours within that range. Then we also have another weather data set that's kind of the measured weather for each wind park. What we just saw is forecasted values, so that's inherently some uncertainties. But in the weather nowcast data, we have it's not actually measured, but it's as close as we get to that. So that's more accurate data, and that can be used up until the prediction point. So the same as with the total power production can be used up until the issue of the weather forecast, if you want. Or it can be used in the training. You decide. But it cannot be used ahead of time. And the last file we have is some metadata connecting each wind park to the bidding zone. So you have the weather forecasts per park, and then you have the total production per bidding zone. So you need to just connect those two. So that's the last file. Yeah, that's it.
Do you also want to say something about the evaluation setup, or do you want me to say it?
You can say it.
Okay, so the idea is that you will be providing, or the challenge is to provide weather forecasts, not for now or the next 24 hours, as Christian said, but for the next day or the day after, so 2 days ahead. And to be able to evaluate that fairly, since you're allowed to use data all the time up until that period, you will, following the deadline of the competition will be September 20th. And then for the next 2 weeks, for every day, every work day, you will have to submit the 2 day ahead forecast that we will then compare to actually what was the power production. You will be allowed to miss one submission. You will be provided with a link to a disk where the forecast should be uploaded, and the new weather forecast that you were supposed to be using as input. And all of that will be made available in a shared container. All of these instructions will be clearly specified on the website. The evaluation will then be, let me just use the next slide, that primarily you will be evaluated on accuracy. But we will use accuracy to filter out the top 10 teams for that period after submission date. We'll use accuracy to filter out the top 10 best teams. And then we will, in addition, evaluate on other parameters which have to do with applicability or deployment factors for StatNet. So accuracy will still be counting. Then, of course, how well can we trust the model and explain it? Are you able to provide uncertainty predictions? Do you provide benchmarks against other models? Are we actually doing better than what exists? Do you provide explanations for how well your model is predicting? And is it simple to understand how the data influence the model, and is it easy to change, or maybe the easy to change is in the implementation? Is it easy to understand and change the model meaningfully? And then, of course, you have to think a bit about the wind park capacity changing over time. How easy will that be to handle for the model? Will climate changes impact the model? And in addition, we may use other criteria such as computational requirements in case we need to break a tie. Christian, do you want to say something about where to find all this information?
Yes. Hi, my name is Kushner Visoka, and I am senior advisor in at Nora, and yeah, maybe I can just share the page. Yes, so can you see the Nora webpage? Yes,
Yes.
okay. So basically, over the next few minutes, I will basically cover some practical topics such as where to find the website, how to register, where to get the data, where to get the help, and I will talk a bit about the prize and the award ceremony in the end. So if you go to nora.ai and if you scroll down to the page, you will see a section competitions. So the web page is up and running. Here we have hosted the data challenge, and basically this is going to be the home base for the data competition. Right now, you can see basically the overview of the data competition, such as problem statements, tasks, evaluation setup and criteria, submission, and about the data and computational resources. The leaderboard, the FAQ, and the submission form are under construction, so they will appear later this month. So I would really recommend you to basically bookmark this. You can also see the timeline here, and along with sort of other information. You can register by clicking register your team now. And here, I believe you can register as a solo. Correct me here, Signe, if that's right. As a
As you
solo.
like.
Yes, and also as a team. For now, we require sort of like the primary contact of the team and a list of all the team members and some other information. And it's important to sort of know whether you want to have access to the Norwegian HPC resources. And as you can see, only the Norwegian residents in people in residence in Norway with this personal number can access computing for now. But Sabri will be talking later. So I'm gonna go back right now. The data is hosted here under the about the data. Right now, the data sits in a Google Drive. For now, if we decide to change where the data is hosted, we will update the link. So it's important to know that that's gonna be the main sort of page, the main base for the data competition. Uh, yes, if Christian wants to talk about, I mean, already Christian talked about the data, but there is a Jupyter notebook here where you can basically see the data structure and other information about the data set. So yeah, and yes, as I said, there is no FAQ page for now, but we will have one. And basically, if it's anything unclear, you are more than welcome to directly send me an email. Yeah, and but it's important for us to check through the web page and find the answer there if it's possible. More information about the data set is in this PDF file. And yeah, so the prize is 50,000 NOK basically for the winning team. And they will also earn the chance to showcase its solutions to Statnet. The award ceremony will happen on the 26th or 27th of November at the Nordic AI Meet conference. As you already know, Nora hosts this Nordic AI Meet, which is rotating across the Nordics. This year will be held in Norrköping, Sweden. So the ceremony will happen either on the 26th or 27th. So yeah, please bookmark this webpage, and if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. I will now share again here.
Yes.
As you can see here, we also have a tiny website. If you don't want to go via the Nora website, then WindAI at tinyurl will also work. Good. Computational resources. Norwegian AI Cloud will be providing us computational resources, at least for those who have a Norwegian registration number. Sabri, do you want to say something about the Norwegian AI Cloud?
So the Norwegian AI Cloud would facilitate with mainly three things. First one would be if the participants would need virtual machines for their to develop their model or test it, we can provide that. And the second one is a place to upload the data where we will make sure it's privately uploaded so the other participant wouldn't see it, and also the evaluation process. For the computational access, at the moment we can only provide for Norwegian residents as mentioned. But if your group has at least one Norwegian resident, we can facilitate that. So this will be a good opportunity to find a Norwegian collaborator if you don't have one. So you could get a virtual machine. So just an encouragement. So that's all. When you mention in your form, Kustrim showed that if you need resources, we'll get back to you on how to get that VM. So this is not not everybody automatically get this, only on request that the virtual machine will be provided, but the storage and the analysis part would be for everybody. Yeah, thank you.
And if you find out later after having submitted the registration form, then also please contact us and we will see what we can do.
Yes.
I also forgot to mention that we are planning to host a sort of a webinar regarding how to use the HPC. And that's going to happen later, sometimes in August. We don't know the exact date, but we will have a separate registration form for that. So, yeah.
Yes. As part of the competition, there will also be the possibility of publishing your results as an academic result. Guy, do you want to say something more about Nordic machine intelligence and how this will happen?
Sure. I'm Geir Hannes, also work in Nora as a senior consultant, and I'm part of my job is to run this journal, which is hosted by UIO's publishing system. It's Diamond Open Access, meaning that it's free to both read and publish there. And it's a level 1 journal, meaning that it's a valid publication channel for science. And there's this link to the journal there, so you will find it. So the plan for this challenge is to publish a special WindAI issue. So when you reply to the challenge, you are demanded to submit a brief article, at least 2 pages, maybe 3 or 4 if you need. And so I recommend that you start using the template of the journal when you're writing about your methods and results. And this can be downloaded from the journal webpage, which you find a link to on the bottom of this slide. And so the plan is that if your paper is deemed as having a meaningful content, you can choose to let it go to peer review and to be published as an independent article in this journal, at least if it's accepted by the reviewers. And in addition to this, we will publish an overview article written by Signe and maybe some others, where we preserve the right to include parts of the submitted content, even if it's, or regardless of whether it's published or not. And where we also present the challenge and summarize what the responses or replies to this challenge. And I think that should be enough for now.
And we hope that many will be interested in this opportunity.
Yeah.
A last slide about further events. As was mentioned by Christian, the registration deadline for signing up your team is 1st of July. Here says that we will provide HPC training during July. It's more likely that it's going to be during August. Follow the website, and we will, of course, email all registered teams with updates on the dates. We will also be hosting a digital Q&A session on the 1st of September, potentially combined with physical workshops. September 22 is going to be the submission deadline, and then September 25 to October 3rd is when you will have to provide the daily submissions. Now we're going to turn off the recording, and then we are happy to take questions, either as written questions or feel free to grab the microphone. Christian might have to give you permission to do so.